First up is Lindsay. Let's take a look at the video. Okay, it's coming along pretty well. Um, it looks like you got most of the basics in there. Let's see how we can improve it. I'll take a look at the My file. I went ahead and hid the buildings. And let's take a look at this. So the first thing I would say is you could have the feet kind of swing one in front of the other, kind of the way someone walks on a tightrope, but not so extreme. And so what I would say is you could go to the existing um, keyframes here. Oh, looks like you have some fractional keyframes. Um, so it might be good to get those to be on whole number frames. Just going to double click on the timeline, right mouse click, and say snap. And that'll put them to whole number frames. Let's do the same to the other foot while we're at it. I'm guessing you scaled your animation at some point. Okay. So I'll show you what I mean. So when this foot hits the ground here, you could have it move in a little bit. And I've got auto keyframe on, but you'll see it'll gradually slide out to the side there. So let's go middle mouse click on the next one. And what I can do to keyframe the translates, I can select the translate, right mouse click and do key selected, or I can do shift W and then it should stick. See how it's not sliding left to right? It is doing the roll that whole time. Another thing on the roll is I like the roll to complete a little quicker. So let me show you that real quick. One thing in the animation preferences, you can set it up to only see the key texts that are selected in the channel box. So now if I have that selected, I'm only seeing the translates. If I have this selected, I'm only seeing the roll keyframe. So now if I change these, it's only going to change the roll ones, not all of them. So the roll starts here and ends there. I'm going to shift click to select that one and move it back to here. And then it should see the foot kind of slaps down there a lot faster. And then I'll middle mouse click here. Middle mouse clicking updates the time without updating the position, and I'll just key it again at 0. So now it clamps down, stays flat for this time. Actually, it shouldn't start rolling up there. There must be some other... The other thing that can happen is that if the leg is fully extended, it'll pull up on it because the IK it's pulling up on it. So we'll fix that later when we adjust the height. But anyways, let's just repeat this process with the next few steps. So here, let's make sure, again, I have it so that the key ticks only show up when they're selected in the channel box. So here again, I mean, and you can also, conversely, you can kind of swing out a little bit more in the middle. It can look nice. And then when we get to the center, we'll swing in a little bit. And then this one probably shouldn't be here. Like, we probably don't need... any of these keyframes in between for the translates. So let's select these three, right mouse click and delete, and this guy. Okay, and then we want it to stick until it moves up. So click here, middle mouse click there, Shift W, and then it'll stick in between. Now let's do the roll for that range. And again, there's a lot of keyframes. So this roll has a pretty quick snap down, which I kind of like. And then it rolls up to the end, which is better. Okay. Let's just check the translates again. Yeah, that's alright. Okay. And then this guy again translates. So you can see it's swinging out, but only because I think maybe we'll skip this one, this keyframe here, get rid of that one. Yeah, and this could swing out even more if we'd like. And then on the landing, we'll get that more centered. And then we don't need this one in the middle for the translates. And this one at the end, we just want the same as the beginning. So my trick for that is click here, middle mouse click there, Shift W, and then its movement left to right at least should stick. Let's check the roll on this one. I mean, that rolls down a little quicker. Alright. Well, let's call that good enough for those. So hopefully you're getting the idea. Maybe you like that. Yeah, I won't do all the steps because that'll just take too long. But see how it looks a little better when the legs swing out, come back to the center line. Then let's work on the root a little bit. I'm just going to go up. Should just be, I don't know why I'm seeing. I guess it's, where is the root control on this thing? There should be a controller for the root. I'm just seeing if it's in a hidden in a layer. I think that's it right there. I just had the joints hidden, so that was my problem. Alright, and it's looking like there's, okay, yeah, you've got some keyframes here. So the thing to do with the root, one of the easiest things to do is to center the weight over the, I'm going to just delete out the Z keyframes because it doesn't look, oh, I guess you do have some side to side there. Yeah. Okay, good. So, but it's a little bit, it's enough off that it's worth redoing. So the key here, it's a very simple principle. Center the weight over the foot that's carrying the weight. Center the root over the foot that's carrying the weight. So I'm going to keyframe at the beginning. And at this point, the weight is fully on her right leg. So I'm going to center it there. Auto keyframe should have keyframed that, and it did not. Interesting. Okay. And then we can go all the way to the next. Oh, interesting. There's, I guess I have to get rid of all of these. Okay, let's just do all of them. Is that changing? Oh, that's the X. I was doing the Z. Okay, my bad. That was the problem. So I was just doing the wrong one. But I'll just do all of them. I'll use Shift W again. So Okay, again, at this point, the weight's all on this foot, and then by this point, the weight's all on that foot. See, root centered over foot carrying the weight. I think I may have exaggerated that too much. Okay. And by here, it's all over that one. Okay. All right. So let's take a look, see if you like that any better. You know, it's all a little exaggerated. The other thing I would say is really exaggerated on this is the height that the feet are being lifted off the ground. When we walk, we do not lift our feet that high unless we're sort of doing some sort of exaggerated march. So let's take a look at that. So I just did the graph editor. I went to marking menu, clicked in the southern area, and went to graph editor. And let's just look at the Y translate of the feet. Whoops. Control click the two Y frame, F for frame selected. So there you can see the height. And what I can do is just select all these keyframes, W for move tool, shift, hold down, and then middle mouse drag down. And now they're all going to move much lower. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oops, I have X-ray on. I want to turn that off. Okay. More natural, right, with the feet? Okay, I didn't do that last step with the roll and all that, so it's still looking a little funny. All right, so now how about some we could do some head bob stuff. You know, we could do a little twist here. So another kind of principle that's sort of easy. Let's see if we have any rotate on here. You do have some rotate on here, but I'm not really. Let's take a look in the graph editor and see what that looks like. Is that okay? There's not really any rotate keyframes on there. They're all the same. So we can just take all those out, so that there's no keyframes there. And then another principle is the hips will rotate forward towards the forward leg, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do Shift E here to keyframes the rotates, and then this leg is all the way forward, and I'll rotate the hips towards that leg. See this hip towards that leg, and then that one's all the way forward, and I'll rotate him towards that leg, and again towards this one, and again towards that one, etc. I might just shorten this timeline here just so we're looking at this one section. Alright, see if you like that any better. Too exaggerated, I would say. Especially at the end there, it kind of goes berserk. Okay. Now, I don't see the shoulder, no back twist right here. Yay, okay, great. So now you can do what's called counter animate with the back. So the back should be twisted opposite the hips. So when that's forward, let's just get a starting keyframe for this guy. Why are these not at whole number keyframes? I'm just going to delete these. And remember, I put my animation preferences so we're only seeing the keyframes for the things selected in the channel box. That way I'm not accidentally deleting the keyframes, for example, on the rotate, which I just finished. So Anyway, so back twist, let's get a starting keyframe for this little sequence. And then, so the hips are forward, and so the opposite shoulder is going to be forward. So I'll use my back twist, and see that opposite shoulder is forward, and we automatically keyframe. Okay, see that? And then this next foot's forward, and then the opposite shoulder. And then this next foot, opposite. Okay, something like that. Let's see if you like that any better. It's almost got a bit of like a swagger now, kind of. So then typically the head stays pretty level, again, depending on the style of walk you're doing. So what I'd like to do is what I call correct for the head, which is to take this head and just sort of, let's get the rotates. Yeah, there's no keyframes. Shift E for starting point, and just try to keep it more or less straight. So here, get it kind of straight. All right. So now you're getting a more natural looking walk already. There's a lot more going on in the body. And, you know, taking any of those things and exaggerating it or de emphasizing it will change the character of the walk. Um, Another thing that's really nice to do, you've got some arm swing on here, but it looks like there isn't anything happening with the wrist. That wrist side is the rig on there. So maybe there is a little bit. Let's see. The graph editor. Wrist side. No, it's totally flat. So again, and again, remember I mentioned that in the animation preferences, I have key ticks just showing for what's selected in the channel box. So if I have like nothing selected in the channel box, you'll see no key ticks. Right now we're just seeing the key ticks for wrist side because that's what I have selected, and which means, and also if I delete these down here, for example, it's only going to delete that for wrist side. If I click on something else, see how it still has its key ticks. So what we can do here is, oh, the other thing I meant to do before I forget on the root is just get her a little bit lower so she's not overextending on those legs. You can see it sometimes. Yeah, see that this left leg is overextending there, where it's kind of reaching beyond where she can go, and then yeah, on the way out, see there, that's overextending. So easy fix, just lower the whole Y translate curve on the root. So let's take a look at that, and F and Y translate, frame that, and let's definitely get rid of some of these peaks here. Maybe make them a little bit more even. I mean, they don't have to be exact, but I mean, you can actually take this whole thing and have the low points a little bit lower too, and should be overextending less now anyways. Yeah, not too bad. There's maybe a little bit left in there, but you can go to the individual ones and lower those a little bit. Okay, yeah, and that was selecting the keyframes, making sure I'm in move mode, W for move mode, shift middle mouse drag down to move those down. All right, so we were going to do something with the wrist. So we said wrist side with it, yeah, And now I took the keyframes out on that. So the thing is, it's think of the wrist as kind of, if you want to give it like a loose look, uh, it's going to rotate sort of opposite of what the shoulder's doing, kind of like it's dragging behind. So I'm going to keyframe it here, and then so as the shoulder's moving back, it might do the opposite. It might, I'm just middle mouse dragging to adjust that. It might go forward a bit like that. And then as it changes direction, you can, have it go the other way. And then as it goes forward, it goes a little bit more behind there. And then when it changes direction again, you can have it go the other way. And then it's going to drag behind like that, and that's a little exaggerated. And then again, it changes direction there, so. Okay, let's look at that from the side here. It's kind of a loose look. It depends, what you want to do. But yeah, okay. So these are a number of things you can do to make it better. I'm probably not going to demonstrate these on all of the walks because it would just take too long, and really they're mostly the same. But just thought I'd start out with this one. Next up is Nitzen. So yeah, you got all the basics looking good, and I think it's going to be really. I can see you got the wrists going, which is good. I think to get it, and it looks like you've got a little bit of twist going on the hips, which is good. So I think you might want to get some of the side-to-side movement in the root, maybe having the feet go a little bit one in front of the other, not quite so parallel. I mean, there's the other option of giving them like a real bow-legged walk where they, but even then they're going to kind of come around and come to the center again, with each step. I think you could correct for the head since it doesn't do that sort of tilt for the side to side. So just animate it. Maybe I'll just demonstrate that much. I think you could do most of the stuff I showed in that first video, and plus. But I'll show you. Let's say we just started here and wanted that head to be straight. Let's take a look at that. So I think you could probably do most of the things I demonstrated in the first video, but if we wanted to just kind of correct for the head, let's take a look at that. So I wonder if we could get one of our back view, maybe front view. Okay, this will help. This will make this a lot easier. So I have the neck control selected. Looks like you don't have any rotation keyframes on there, so we're starting from scratch. And what have I done? Front view. Why is the whole world moving like that? Is this camera parented to the something? Oh, this camera's parented to the eyes. Okay, well let's you could either create a new camera that's not parented to the eyes, or we could use this. So I'm just going to unparent it. Okay, and let's zero these out, and then okay, that was a little crazy. All right, so let's make sure we've got the head control selected, and yeah, so Shift. Yeah, let's select the rotate so we can see our key ticks. Shift E for. Okay, so here I'll just middle mouse drag, try to sort of straighten it out. And just kind of look for the most extreme position and straighten it out. I'm just using middle mouse drag to make that easier. Do it on do the adjustment on the frame that seems to it seems to stop changing. Whoops. All right, so let's see if we like that any better. If you notice the difference. It's better when it's without it bobbing side to side. So you could give that a shot and do, again, any of the stuff I did on the first one as well. Next up is matte. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. I think that might get some little bit of wrist on there. I'm not sure you have any wrist going. Um, Looks like you have some head bob going on there. I think you can do some of the same things I demonstrated in the first video, like the feet going one in front of the other. Is there hips rotation in there? Maybe a little more hips and shoulder going on. Next up is Cravan. For some reason I can't loop this one. I don't know what the deal is. Okay, let's just take a look in Maya. Alright, so looking good. You've got the feet contact and roll working really well. I can see you've got some twist on the root here and counteracting with the shoulders. I think you could add the wrist. Just using the wrist side to kind of loosen them up in the animation. But yeah, overall you've got the basics, and I might just look, add that kind of side-to-side movement might be good. Getting one foot to kind of come in front of the other, like I demonstrated in the first video, could add some more to this. Next up is Angela. Made a separate video about the spline IK issue below, so let's just look at the animation. So yeah, that's looking really good. I mean, clearly you've got the hips and shoulders going. You've even got the kind of the tilt that way, it looks like a little bit, which is nice. I think that you could maybe, yeah, it looks like you did some wrist work as well. So yeah, there's a lot of detail on this one. It's really nice. You could add some up and down to the root and also correct for the head. Let's take a look at those things in Maya. So maybe look at a front view. Get rid of the camera gate, just to give us some more work room. Okay. So I showed that sort of 1 foot in front of the other thing on the first video, so the first critique, so check that out. I'm going to turn off X-ray joints here. And let's take a look at your wrist. Yeah, it looks like you had some on there. Am I right? Wrist side. I am wrong, but did you have a wrist twist? No. Wrist up down. Okay. I'm wrong. So yeah, add some wrist animation. So in this case, you've kind of got them facing. I would probably still just use this one. Yeah. So I demonstrated this in a previous video, but basically, with animation preferences, I have it set to channel box, so I'm just only seeing the key ticks on the timeline with what I have selected in the channel box. So I'll only be affecting wrist side. So I'm going to double click on the timeline and delete those keyframes. And then, as the arm moves back, let's just start here. As the arm moves back, the wrist could kind of go forward a bit. I mean, in this case, because of the angle you have the hands, I might do both of these guys. So actually, let's get rid of the keyframes on that one too. That wrist side, and let's do both of these. So let's set the first keyframe here. Go forward. So as the arm's going back, I would kind of bring the wrist forward a bit. Okay. And then when it changes direction, here we can go back. And then the other way, when it's going this way, you'll put it the other way. Yeah, you got that snap because of the loop. So let's just my trick is I like to click here and then just middle mouse click here and then keyframe both of those. Middle mouse clicking changes the time without updating the position of things. I think that's too abrupt. Of a change there. So what I would say is, let's start by middle mouse clicking here, keyframing that, middle mouse click here, keyframe that, just as a starting point. And then we'll see now it doesn't change at all. And what we'd like to do is have it do just a little bit here, and then we'll middle mouse click here and keyframe those two. Okay, let's try that. What's interesting, this feels like too much of a snap to me now. Let's try moving that back a little bit, timing wise. Yeah, maybe still too much. But anyways, you get the idea. You can go in there and touch it up. Yeah, it looks like a bit of a pop on that wrist. That would make that more subtle. Okay, and then for the head, like I think I showed this in another video already, we can just sort of counter animate. So it looks like, from what I can tell, there's no real, there's no animation at all on the head. So just Shift E to keyframe your rotates. And I can see the key ticks here if I select these. And maybe let me start there. Kind of go to where it seems to stop changing. And then probably go here and make these the same, and just middle mouse click again, key selected. More natural. I mean, her head usually stays pretty straight. Yeah, more subtlety on that wrist for sure. I mean, one thing I can do on the wrist, real kind of quick and dirty fix, is let's where are the, oh yeah, we're using these twists and side things. I'm looking for the rotates. I believe it was, these two. So you can see how big that is, and one thing you can do is just, and see that just tells me right there that that's too big. I might just take out that keyframe, or maybe we'll just move it up. Maybe move these back a little bit. You can just tell by the curve where it's too big. Maybe take both of these and move them down to be closer together. So now we have a much more subtle shaped curve. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, see, that's better. It's real subtle, but it keeps the the wrist alive. All right. Next up is Megan. So yeah, it looks like you definitely got some kind of rotation and twist going on. I think we have the same thing about the, we could put the feet one foot in front of the other, like I demonstrated in the first video. I think the things that are catching my eye in this video is the arms. First, the animation is maybe a bit too exaggerated, but the other thing is it's going straight forward and backward, and what you really want is more of an arc shape. So let's take a look at that. So this actually kind of brings up an interesting point, which is that the arms are set up with IK setup, and more modern kind of fully fleshed out rig would allow you to switch back and forth between IK and FK. And FK is good for something specifically like swinging arms, because if you just rotate from the shoulder, it'll automatically make a nice arc shape. Whereas with this, you kind of have to engineer it a little bit more. So let's take a look at that. One thing that would go pretty far is, you can see right here it's moving in a straight back and forth line. And if we simply go here and move this down in the middle, and then once again here, we're already going to be better off. Let's take a look at that. Better, huh? Let's take a look at that in the graph editor. Just look at the translates. Okay. And it's mostly the Y translate, really, we're looking at. Yeah. So that's gonna, yeah, I think that helps out a lot. And then besides that, you could decrease the amount of forward and backward motion. And let's look at how to do that in the graph editor. This is the Z translate, right? Or mostly. Okay. So kind of big. So I might take out these middle ones since those aren't really necessary. And then let's just try W for move mode, shift middle mouse drag. Let's just move this down. Or would it be the other ones? Actually, no, what we really need to do is both. We need to kind of scale these. So R for scale, and shift, go to kind of about the middle here. Yeah, the 0, I guess, and just flatten that out a little bit. Shift middle mouse. Like, it matters where you click first, because that's going to be sort of the pivot point of the scale. That doesn't look that much different to me. Just out of curiosity. I don't know. Let's try really go flat and see what happens, see if it's doing anything. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so yeah, now the the Y translate looks much too big with that being so much smaller. R for scale, shift middle mouse. Flattening that out a bit. Now it's actually maybe too subtle. So I would also say, like, you can move, let's do this 2 panel side by side. You could probably move this whole thing down to move the whole movement of the arm, shift middle mouse drag with the move mode. Oh, I guess it's up. Anyways, you can kind of tune it in there. Let's just make sure this start and end are the same. Whoops, don't do that. This one's whatever this number is, 17.319. So I just copy that and paste it here. It's another way to match those. Yeah, I feel like I went too far with the Z. I should scale that back up a little bit, get some more of that arm R for scale. Anyways, you're getting kind of a an interesting demonstration of how you might tune your animation a little bit. And then I think from there, get in the wrist rotation like I've demonstrated in other projects, and do the correcting for the head like I've also demonstrated for the other ones. Next up is Karen. So yeah, I would say much of the same kind of stuff. Mostly, it's looking pretty good. The footfalls look good, and getting some more wrist going on, getting the head corrected for the sort of the one foot in front of the other that I've demonstrated in the other videos. Another thing you can do with the arm swing, and this one's kind of subtle, and I think that's good actually. But much like the feet can kind of swing one from the other, you can have a little bit of as there's an arc shape, should be an arc shape this way, there can also be an arc shape like kind of going from the back, swinging it around to the front, and subtly though, not like woo, just like a little bit of that you can add can be nice. Um, yeah, so yeah, it's kind of the same stuff. One foot in front of the other, correct for the head. It looks like you got the hips and shoulder twists, so that's good. Finally, we've got Chris. It looks good. The character looks nice. I like the hand pose because it's sort of a determined look. I think that it's mostly the sort of stuff I've been talking about. It looks like you do got some hips rotation. That's good. Um, I think maybe if the arms can kind of go down a little bit more, that might be good because it's pretty horizontal, the movement back and forth, like I demonstrated in one of the critiques a couple videos ago. And yeah, and maybe like I've shown a couple times, correcting for the head to keep that a little more straight. But like the one foot in front of the other, like I demonstrated in the first video. So, but yeah, it's looking good. Good work, everybody.